We're right in the middle of winter now, so we're going to talk about a few things you can do when editing your photos to really winter up those photos. We're going to dive into Lightroom, we're going to look at some photos I took over December. Let's get into it, strap in, because it's Tutorial Tuesday. Welcome back to Tutorial Tuesday, where each and every Tuesday, we bring you a brand new, fresh photography tutorial. This week, we're diving into Lightroom. We're going to look at a few photos that I took in December. Now, these do have a bit of snow. This is when we had all that snow. Not loads of snow, but enough to make them feel a little bit wintry. But we're going to look at a couple of things that I've been doing recently to actually winter up those photos in Lightroom. There's a few different techniques and it's really quite straightforward, and there's a few things that I've actually learned over the last sort of month or so. Now, we've talked in the past about the benefits of some of the presets that are built into Lightroom, how they can be a great starting point for your edit, or they can even be just a great bit of inspiration for how you might want to edit your photo. And that certainly comes into play when we're talking about seasonal photography. There's actually some specific ones in there for the different seasons, which is really handy and really interesting. So let's have a look. So first up, we're looking over here on the left. This is where we've got all of our presets built into Lightroom. And I know what you're thinking, you don't necessarily want to be using presets, you want to use your own style. But like I say, they can be a great way of developing a bit of a style, or even just a little bit of inspiration. And of course, you can completely tweak them just as much as you want. So let's have a look. So over here on the left, you've got all these different presets, but there are these seasons ones. So season, spring, summer, autumn, winter. And they're a great way of starting some of these different photos. So let's take a look at winter here. I'm a big fan of WNO2, but we've got all kinds of different ones here with different looks. And as you mouse over them, it'll show you what it's going to look like. Let's go ahead and go with WNO2, which I think looks really nice. If we already look at this photo, it's changed quite a bit here. So we can press the backslash key to see what it was like before and after. Things are popping a bit more. I feel like the snow is sort of punching out of the photo a little bit more. This is before, this is after. Some of the colors have changed as well. Now, we can actually go in and adjust the amount this preset is being applied up here. So we can bring that down if we wanted to, or of course we could bring it all the way up if we wanted to as well. But I'm gonna leave it at 100. And actually over on the right, you can see all of the things that it's doing to the photo. So we can actually go in and easily change things if we wanted to, which is exactly what we're going to do. So the first thing I think that we should do with this photo is adjust the white balance. We should bring that down a little bit to the cooler side of things. Look at that, even just a little change there has made the world of difference. Now you might notice this is actually a JPEG image. That's because it was shot on the Panasonic S5 II, and because it was actually shot before release, there isn't the codec in Lightroom yet to actually process the RAW. So I'm using the JPEG, not a problem, actually seems to be working really well. So we've brought that white balance down towards the cooler side of things, because generally for a wintry photo, that's probably what you're going to be going for. I'm actually going to increase the exposure a little bit as well, because with the snow, it can often actually brighten things up a little bit. And I'm going to bring the highlights down just a touch there so that we're not sort of blowing out too much of the snow. The next thing I'm going to do is actually bring the dehaze down a little bit as well, because again, with that snow, it kind of creates a bit of a glow kind of feel. It's a really interesting thing photographing the snow, because the exposure is very bright. Everything's very bright. If you've ever been out at night when there's lots of snow around, it's really easy to see everything because the light is just reflecting off the snow. So that's what we kind of want to capture here with the dehaze. We do a bit of negative dehaze. It almost kind of increases that glow. And then we're going to come down. The last thing I want to do is remove some of these colors from the photo. So specifically the oranges and the yellows. So I'm going to come here to the HSL tab. I'm going to go saturation. I'm going to bring the oranges down and the yellows down. I might bring the greens down a little bit as well. Then let's go into the hue bit here, and we're going to just bring those greens over to a more sort of rich green, like so. Now, you can see the actual preset has done lots of things like adding blues to certain parts of the image. So the color grading here, it's got blues in the shadows, blues in the highlights. If we turn that off, you can see what it's actually doing. Turn it back on. I like it, but again, you can go in and tweak these presets as much as you want, which is always really, really handy. I think that this is probably where I want to get the photo to, but there are just a couple of last tweaks I'm going to do. I'm going to come up here to the masking tab. Let's go for a brush. And what I'm going to do is just bring that dehaze down to something like -50, -51 is fine. Nice big brush. And I'm just going to paint over some of this water here. That's probably a bit much, but I'm going to bring that dehaze back up a little bit. It just creates this kind of misty effect. Let's turn that off, turn that back on. You can see exactly what it's doing here. And if I come back over to the just sort of general editing tab, I'm going to bring that exposure down a little bit that I bumped up. I think that that looks really, really good. Now, again, we can press the backslash key to see exactly where we started with this photo, which was here, and then we've brought it to here. I think you'll agree, much more wintry in its feeling. Now, we can actually just apply this to other winter photos as well. We can just go ahead and right click on the photo. We can go develop settings, copy settings. Let's select everything we want to copy. So I'm even going to select the masking. Usually I wouldn't select that, but otherwise we're going to select everything else. The only things I don't tend to select, the crop, and we're going to get rid of that transform as well, because we don't want to, apply the crop that we might use for one photo on another photo. We can do that ourselves if we want to. Let's just come over to another photo. Let's say this one here. We can just right click, develop settings, and paste settings. And immediately it works really well on this photo. We can press the backslash key. That's where we started. That's where it got to. You can also press Y to see them side by side, but look at the difference there. That is a big, big difference. And that is a really quick and easy way to really winter up your photos. So essentially, we've gone for the preset, which we can then change, we can tweak, we can even just reduce or increase the amount that it's applied. We've done the white balance towards the kind of cooler side of things. And then we've just basically adjusted the exposure and the dehaze to brighten and then add that kind of cooling, misty effect. We've used a brush to add it in certain places as well. But it's a pretty quick process. Done. And you've got a nice wintry photo. Now, of course, this works especially well on snowy photos, but you could apply a lot of these techniques even to wintry photos not taken with lots of snow. And perhaps we'll do that in the future. Now, if you have any other tips for how you like to approach editing those wintry photos, let me know down in the comments. I'm always keen to learn as well, but I love when you guys share some of your tips because you guys have a lot of great insight to a lot of this stuff. So these are my tips for how I approach this, but I'd love to hear yours as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Of course, you can check out the Panasonic S5 II, which all these photos were taken on by checking out the link down in the description. But until next time, thanks for watching.